Hello friends, welcome back to the session. So in this session, we will discuss about the database table. So as we know, SAP is a standard business application. Now based on the business process, like what kind of business process we do have, the purchase, the sales, the production activity, nothing but the manufacturing, the financial activity, then we do have the warehouse, logistic, so on. More than 26 plus business is going to be supported by the SAP. Now, after processing the data through this business application, now of course, based on this business activity, SAP has already provided many standard application. Now, these application will be used in real time to process the business related data. Now, once we process the data related to the business, it will be stored in a respective database table. Now, in the database, in what format the data is going to be stored? In the format of rows and the column, nothing but the table. Now, as we know, SAP has already provided many standard application and he has also provided many standard database table. But in certain situation, the standard database table provided by the SAP, apart from this, we need our custom database table to process our custom data. So in that situation, how I supposed to create the custom database table? So in that situation, we are going to create the custom database table with the help of application called ABAP dictionary, or also we can call it as a data dictionary. Sometimes in short, we can call it as a ddic also. And to run this application, SAP has provided the shortcut code, nothing but the transaction code, nothing but SE11. Now, what's the meaning of this data dictionary? So, data dictionary is an application, or we can call as it a central repository, or the location. A repository is nothing but the centralized location, where we are going to define nothing but with the help of this application, we are going to define and maintain the data and its data objects which are related to the database. Likewise, in our previous session, we discussed about the work area, the internal table, structure, table type, so on. Now you can difference between the work area and the internal table which we have created in previous session and the database table which we are supposed to discuss it now. Is there any relation? Is there any difference between these two? Of course, one and all same. Even the work area and the internal table are the part of data objects. Even this database table is also a part of data object. Then what is the difference between these two? As we discussed earlier during our programming structure, during the programming, whatever the data object we supposed to declare, maybe it's a variable or work area or internal table, these are the temporary memory. These are also able to hold the data, but that is very temporary, only time being. Now, once your execution has been started, it will allocate the memory, it will hold the data for some duration, time limit, and once we receive the output, the data object which has allocated the memory that will be rolled out or cleared. So that's the reason we can call it a temporary memory. It means for each run, whenever we execute the program, once the execution has started, the data objects which we declare during the programming, those will get allocated. It will have means it will allocate the physical memory to hold the data temporarily. Once the execution has been completed, it will be deleted. That is for the every run. But sometimes I want to have the physical or permanent memory which should be stored physically or permanently inside the database until unless I'm going to delete it manually. So those permanent or those physical data objects we supposed to declare by using the concept called ABAP dictionary. So that's the reason this ABAP dictionary or the data dictionary we can call it as a central repository. It is a central repository, nothing but a location where we can define and maintain. Now, what is the meaning of define? Define is nothing but creating the new one. Creating the new one. Maintenance means either you can do the changes in existing or you can delete the existing. That is a part of maintain. The data and its data objects, which are related to database. Means the data is nothing but the raw data. I can say the metadata. Raw data, or we can say metadata. Now, what is the meaning of raw data, metadata? Now, let's assume I want to create one custom table, or sometimes we can call it as a Z table also. And in that, you want to store the data which has not provided as per the SAP standard business process. I want to store the student information. Let's assume I'm taking some simple scenario. Of course, student is not related to the business, but I'm just scenario I'm taking about. So suppose I want to store the student information. For the student, SAP has not provided any standard application, or he has not provided any standard database table to hold the data. In that situation, you can create your own. Now, once we create the table, and inside the data which we are storing, the information of that student, that is a part of raw data. Metadata, we can say. Something like student number, his date of birth, the name, city, postal, which he belongs to or she belongs to, the classroom, the section, so and so. That is a part of raw data or metadata. Now, these student information, the raw data or metadata, in which format you want to store? That is a part of data objects. So mostly we are going to store the data in the format of table. That's a part of rows and the column. So we are going to store the data in the format of rows and the column. That is a part of table. Now again, table, internal table, database table. Internal table which will be available only during the execution time. Database table which will be available physically inside the database until unless we are going to delete it manually. It will be remains over there. So such kinds of creationing a table, or if you want to do any changes in the existing table, or if you want to delete the table after creation, if you want to store any entries in a table, so all these activity we are going to perform by using the application called data dictionary or the ABAP dictionary. Now, not only database table. So here we specified the word as data objects. So database table is one of the object. Likewise, we do have the different set of data object which is going to have the physical memory inside the database. Now, what are those data objects? So here we can discuss about sub objects in data dictionary, or we can say ABAP dictionary. It means the data and its object we are going to process with the help of data dictionary. What kind of those data objects? So there are total 7 sub object, means 7 different data object we are going to process and physically will be stored inside the database table. What are those? The very first is database table. Next comes with view. Within the view we do have the 4 types again. We will discuss each and every topic in detail. Then comes with data type. Now within the data type, we do have again 3. One with data element, another with structure, and the table type. So database table, view, data type, then comes with type group, then domain, then search help, and the lock object. So these are the different database object which we are going to store physically inside the database. So again, these are the individual. In detail, we are going to be elaborate. So very first, we will go with the database table. Now, what is a database table? So here I can say database table. So here I can say database table is an object. Database table, it is an object where we are going to store the data in the format of rows and the column. Database table is an object where we are going to store the data in the format of rows and the column. Here, each row, we can call it as a data. See, once we create the table in the format of row, we are going to store the metadata, or we can say entry. So database table is an object where we are going to define the data in the format of rows and the column. Each row we can call as an entry of the data, and each column we can call it as a field. Field, or we can say column. We can call it as a field or column. Field, or we can say the column. Even though if you go with the Excel sheet, of course, in day-to-day routine, how we supposed to maintain the data? In the format of Excel sheet. Even though Excel sheet is a part of rows and column, in the column we are going to maintain the headings, and in the row we are going to maintain the information, metadata, raw data. Now, before we maintain the entries in a table, before we maintain the entries in a table, first we need to create the fields. Before we maintain the entries in a table, first we need to create the field. And to create the field, we do have a simple formula. Field equals to domain plus data element plus key field. So to create a field, we need to follow this simple formula. Field equals to domain plus data element plus key field. Now you can ask me what exactly the meaning of domain, what exactly the meaning of data element, and what exactly the meaning of key field. Now before we go with this, during the programming structure, we have created the variables, we have created the work area, we have created the internet table. Here, however, we are going to create the field, nothing but the variable only. Now if you want to create the variable, what is the syntax which you followed? Like say data. If I want to create any variable, suppose I'm creating the variable as name, and it's going to hold the characters, nothing but the alphabets. So I'm extending the length as 20 and the data type as character. See. Now, this is something my field. This is something my field as a name. Of course, I'm going to define the field over here. Now, for this field, I'm maintaining the data type plus length. Of course, name is my field or the variable which is supposed to hold the data. Now, what kind of data he is going to hold? Character. And default the length of the character is 1. And you are going to extend the length. Up to what? Here we are extending up to 20. So this is nothing but itself a domain. So domain is nothing but what? The field which you are creating. For the field, you are going to define the data type and the length for a field. Data type and length for a field. The field which you are going to declare for the field defining the data type and length is nothing but itself a domain. Now, what is the meaning of data element? See, whatever the field you have created over here, what is the field? It's a name. So I do have a simple question. What kind of name is this? Of course, name is a variable. In runtime, it is supposed to hold the data. Now, what kind of data is holding? Name, I agree, it's a character, it's a somewhat alphabets. So my question is, does it a customer name? Does it a vendor name or student name or employee name? I need some detail more about this field. So that is a part of short description. So that we are going to maintain by using data element. So with the help of data element, we are going to maintain the description and label for a field. Now there are two different things, one with the description, another with the label. Description means suppose if you visited the table technically. So there are two things, one with overview screen we can say and one with the detailed screen. Overview screen contains the detailed technical detail about that table and the respective fields. Then the detail screen is nothing but the data, the raw data which you have stored. Now once user visited the overview screen. In that you do have the set of fields, what is the data type, what is the domain, and what exactly that field stands for. That is a part of description. Now, once we see the output, like suppose I want to see the output, like what are the data which we have stored. Now, in the column head, what heading you're expecting? Same as a technical name, or you want to provide some different label for this? So technically, the field has created in the name of just name, and you have provided the description, like you have provided the explanation, like it is a student name. Now, what label you are expecting in the output list? Once we display the output, what heading you are expecting over here? So that heading will be provided with the help of label. So description and the label, those are the two different things. Next comes with key field. You know, whenever we maintain the table, and in the table the set of information which we are supposed to maintain, like I have taken the example for the student. Now suppose you are maintaining the information in the format of Excel sheet. Let's assume you are maintaining the information in the format of Excel sheet. Now what kind of information you can maintain? The basic thing is his first name, then the classroom, the section which he belongs to, some more date of birth, some address detail, parent information, so on. Now with the same name there can be two students, either in the girl or in the boy section. With the same name, there can be two person or maybe three person. In short, maybe more than one person. Then how we are going to differentiate those two people? Maybe, of course, the information which are holding belongs to same classroom. Here, class name is also duplicate. Section, of course, maybe those two student belongs to the same section. Then how I'm going to differentiate those two row? For example, another scenario, if you go to the bank, if you want to open a new account, you're going to fill the application form with all your personal details, the attachment they which asking, like the ID proof I'm talking about. So ID proof, they will not consider as a unique information. That is just your identification. That government ID proof, they will not consider there as unique information in the database level. No. Now, if you go to the bank, of course, you are filling the personal information. The next day morning, like there is like with the same name, there can be two customer, maybe three customer. Even sometimes last name will be also the same. Sometimes middle name is also be the same. First name, middle name, last name. All three name are same for the two different customer. Then how we are going to differentiate those two customer? We need some unique information between those two customer. Then what will be the unique information? Account number. They are going to generate the account number which will be always unique. Similarly, I'm talking about the student. Student number is always be the unique number. Roll number we can say. If you are working with, like if you are in the academy year, they used to have the university number. That will always be the unique number. Every, like if you go with the passport with the same name, same address detail, there can be two-person. You need a unique between those two. How we are going to differentiate those two-person? With some unique information. So what is that unique information? Passport number. So in every information, there will be a unique column which is having the unique data, means it will not allow you to store the duplicate data. So with that unique information, we are going to differentiate between the multiple rows. And that unique information we are going to maintain by using the key field. So we are going to create the key field to identify the record uniquely. And without key field, it is not possible to create the table. It's a mandatory. In a table, there should be at least one key field, but there is no any restriction. You can create the multiple field. You can create multiple key field. So key field compulsory, and user can have n number of key field. Now, if I go with the definition, it is an object where we can define the data in the form of rows and column. So each row we can call as a record or data or entry, and each column we can call it as a field. And before we store the data or the record, first we need to define the field, and to define the field, this is our formula. Field equals to domain plus data element plus key field. Now you can ask me, like, with the help of domain, we are going to create the domain to maintain the data type and the length, and with the help of data element, we are going to maintain the description and the label. Is it mandatory to create the domain and the data element? See, the field is something same as a variable which we are supposed to create during the programming. There we have maintained the data type and the length directly. And there we never bother about the label and the description. Why we are worrying about in the database table level? Of course, though our variable which we are supposed to create at the programming level, that is a temporary. That is going to be work in the background. So this is physical. Anyway, anytime if you visit the database table, you can find this information. But why we are creating the domain and the data element is reusability. The main advantage of creating the data element and domain is reusability. Means same domain and data element can be reused for the multiple fields. Suppose you are creating two fields. Name 1, nothing but the first name. Name 2, nothing but the second name. Name 3, nothing but the last name. Now all name will be having the same data type, maybe will be having the same length. Now instead of creating again and again, you can reuse them. That is the main purpose. The main advantage is reusability, right? Now, if you look at this domain, the main property of domain is what? To maintain the data type and the length. Along with that, you can maintain some different set of properties as well. So along with maintaining the data type and the length, we can maintain the domain properties also. There is another advantage to go with creating the domain separately. One with the reusability, another is to maintain the property. What kind of property? You can maintain the sign, option, sorry, sign, lowercase, sign, lowercase, fixed value, value table, and conversion routine. So this is another advantage of creating the domain separately. One, it is to create the data type and length. With the help of domain, we are going to maintain the data type and length. The same data type length and can be reused. And the second thing is what? To set the domain properties. If you are assigning the data type and length directly, it is not possible to maintain the domain properties. So to maintain the domain properties, sometimes we need to create the domain. Now, what is the meaning of domain properties with the sign, lowercase, fixed value, value table, conversion routine? That we will discuss again in detail with the separate session very lastly. Now here, if you look at for the database table, it is in the format of rows and column. And we have seen like if you want to maintain the entry, first we need to create the field. Not only one field, you might have multiple field also. Now that collection of a fields and the collection of a data, that will become a table. The collection of a field and the collection of a data will become the table, and to create the table, what are all the property we need to maintain? What are all the protocol we need to maintain? So that is a part of your table component. Creating a field, maintaining the data is not enough. We need to take care about something else as well. That's a part of table component. So what are the table component we need to maintain? The very first, delivery and maintenance. First thing we need to maintain as delivery and the maintenance. Now again the delivery and maintenance we do have two. One with delivery class, then data browser slash table view maintenance. So first thing we need to maintain the delivery and maintenance. Now within the delivery and maintenance we do have two. One with the delivery class, another with table view maintenance. Now after that you need to maintain the fields. First you need to maintain the delivery and maintenance. Later we need to maintain the fields. Nothing but we need to create the field. Now under the fields, what are the things we need to maintain? One with domain, which we have already discussed. Another with data element, even though this we have already discussed. And the third one is key field. Three things: domain, data element, and the key field. And lastly, you need to maintain the technical setting. Now under the technical setting, you are going to maintain the two things. So those are again data class and size category. With the help of technical setting, you are going to maintain data class and the size. These are all three are the important parts. So very first is delivery and maintenance. Second thing is fields we need to maintain. And the third with technical settings we need to maintain. Now again in the delivery and maintenance, we do have delivery class and the data slash table view maintenance. Under the fields, we are going to maintain domain, data element, key field. Now under the technical setting, we are going to maintain data class and the size category. So you need to recall this formula every time to go with very smoothly to create the table, and it will help you during the interview preparations also. Now, before I go in detail, like already we discussed about the field, domain, data element, and the key field. So only thing which we need to discuss is delivery and maintenance, and the second with the technical settings. So before I proceed with the delivery and maintenance, see, once we create the database table, we supposed to maintain the entries or the record inside the database table. Now, what kind of data has provided by the SAP? If we talk about the business data, now within the business data, we do have the variety. Now here, if you look at business data, what kind of business data we do have in real time? So we do have master data, we do have transaction data, we do have organization data, system, statistical, configuration, then we do have customization, then we do have delivery, then we do have temporary, so on, so on. So these are the different set of data, business data provided by the SAP. So in these, ABAPer, we need to work with only these three: master, transaction, and the organization. And specifically, this master and transaction will also be called as application data. If someone calls it as application data, then it can be master or transaction. So master and transaction will be called as application data. Organization, only these three kinds of data we are going to work with the as a ABAPer. But rest of the data, it is a part of basis also, it is a part of functional also. Like what's the meaning of master data? So definition wise, if you look at the master data, once we create it, cannot be changed. Like suppose if you go with the banking system, if you want to open a new account, they are going to register your details and they are going to generate one unique number for you called the account number. Is it possible to change the account number? Like suddenly you're saying that I don't like this number. I want some different number, choice number. Is it possible? Of course no. Right? The only option is what? You can delete it. But change is not an option. So some data cannot be changed. Like your first name, middle name, last name, that is always be entered as per your ID proof. Like suppose you yourself like considering your alternative name. Is it possible like this is my original name, I don't like this name or I don't want this name to be populated in the account, I want this different name. Is it possible? They will not allow you. You do have the proper valid documentation for that. So change can be happen. What kind of changes they can do? Your email ID, something your mobile number if you got changed, something like address information. But major information cannot be changed. Such kinds of information or the data we can call as a master. Once we create it, cannot be changed. Similarly, transaction, the name itself meaning as the day-to-day business data. Like the banking system, the day-to-day we are going to maintain the transactions, depositing the amount, crediting or debiting, whatever may be. Even though if you go with the bank, the passbook, earlier we used to have the hard copy as a passbook, nowadays we used to get through the email. What we used to get the attachment, it is a transaction detail only. Like when, on what date, what time, through which like IP ID or we can say ATM machine, either you have credited the amount, you have debited the amount, you do have the complete information. So such kinds of information we can call as a transaction. Similarly, the third one is the organization data. The data which belongs to organization. Suppose a XYZ bank is there, his main office in prime location. Now they do have the branches around the city or within the city or across the state also. Now suddenly, like one of the area which they are having the branch, the customer are increasing or there is having large base customer. Now what they are thinking, now it is not possible to manage to balance the load, like we are planning or we are thinking to open one more branch in the nearby area so that we can balance the load. In that situation, when they are opening a new branch, that branch related information will be maintained only once. Like what will be the MISC code will be there for the banking system, IFSC code will be there, the branch name will be that informations which belongs to technically that branch related. But suppose if I want to set up new office, you need to do the registration, right? Now where you are opening the office, what will be the premises area, either you have follow all the guidelines, right? What were the number of employees, what kind of business you are going to maintain. That information related to not my business but organization which I'm set up. That we can call as an organization. That is we are going to maintain very rarely. So only these three kinds of data which we as a ABAP are working on, but rest of the data is belongs to the basis plus functional, like system data. Now suppose if I want to install any software in my laptop, what will be the configuration? Either it's a Linux based or Microsoft based OS or the iMac based. What kind of software is this and what configuration we required? What kind of system compatibility we required? That is a part of your system data. Now, statistical information is nothing but what is your total memory, in that what memory you have consumed and what is your free memory. The information related to your memory consumption, that is a part of your statistical. Configuration. Suppose if you have purchased a new mobile or the laptop, that comes with some default configuration. But if you want, you can change that config. That's a part of configuration. Similarly, SAP comes with a complete package. Accordingly, based on your requirement, you can configure it and you can do the customizing also. Customizing means you can have your own app download, you can do your custom app, like you can do the way you want. That is a part of configuration customizing. So on, we do have the different. Now I will come back to the delivery and maintenance, the first option. In that, we will go with the first one as a part of delivery class. Now, what is the use of this delivery class? While creating the database table, what information we are going to maintain with the help of delivery class? So it will be used to maintain, it specifies the type of data. Like we do have different type of business data, right? We do have the different type of business data, like we discussed about master, transaction, organization, so on. Now, among these business data, what kind of business data you are going to maintain with the help of this table? That we are going to specify. It specifies the type of business data which user going to maintain with the help of table. Now, suppose I want to maintain the master data in my table. So delivery class is nothing but what? Among these list of business data, which type of business data you are going to maintain in your table? It may be master, it may be transaction, it may be organization. Do I need to type over there? Suppose I want to maintain the master data. Do I need to type master data? Suppose I want to maintain the transaction. Do I need to type as a transaction? No. SAP has provided some shortcut option. You can select that option. Here I can say the possible options are A. Application data. As we discuss, application, it can be master or it can be transaction as well. Then C. Customizing data, or we can say customization. Temporary or delivery. Likewise, we do have G, E, S, W, so on. But as a ABAPer I discussed, we are going to maintain with master, transaction in the organization. So master or transaction will comes under the application. Suppose if you want to maintain any one of these two, we are going to select the option as A. You need to select the option. A stands for application. It can be master or transaction. If you want to maintain the data related to the customizing, you need to maintain the option as C. You don't need to type it over there. Now, within the delivery and maintenance, the second option is data slash table view maintenance. Now, suppose I'm the developer. Of course, after development, you are not the one who is going to maintain the entry in a table. So your job is to what? Just create the table. After creating the table, it's a job of end user to maintain the entry. Now, whatever the table you have created, now the entry by maybe the end user, like we do have the different end users. Now, do you want to allow them to maintain the entries in your table? Of course, you can maintain the restrictions also. Suppose I have created that table and I don't want anybody else apart from me or apart from a specific user. I don't want anybody else to maintain any entries in my table. That you can restrict with the help of this option, data slash table view maintenance. It specifies the data should only be displayed or it can also be maintained. Means if you want to restrict him, what kind of restriction you want to impose? Like he will be able to only see the data or he will only able to see, like he can able to see the data plus he can able to manage the data, maintain the data. Maintenance means what? Changing or deleting. Or you don't allow him to like both the things. I don't want to see the data, I don't want to maintain it. So you can maintain three different type of restrictions. So what kind of those? So very first one, display maintenance allowed. So this is a part of possible options. So again, you don't need to type it anything, you need to select the option. The possible options are the very first, display maintenance allowed. Allowed with restriction. So very first option which you can find is display maintenance allowed with restriction. Means anybody can see the data. Anybody can see the data, but maintenance is restriction. Means you cannot be edit the data directly. Maintenance is restricted. You will not allow to maintain the entries in a table with the option display maintenance allowed with restriction. You can see the data, there is no any restriction, but maintenance is not possible. Now, whatever the standard database table provided by the SAP, those option is display maintenance allowed with restriction. Means you can display the data, maintenance is not allowed. Means changing or deleting is not allowed. The second option is display maintenance allowed. It means anybody can see the data, anybody can manipulate it. No restriction. Anybody can see the data, anybody can manipulate it. Manipulation means you can change any existing data, you can delete any existing data, you can update anything you can do. Now the third option is display maintenance and not allowed. What does it mean? No one can see the data, no visibility I can say. If you're not able to see the data, then how you're going to change it? No, both is restricted. You cannot see the data, you cannot maintain, it is not possible to maintain for you. So whatever the standard database table provided by the SAP, those will be the option with first one, display maintenance allowed with restriction. But what custom table we supposed to create, we will always select the option as display maintenance allowed. So custom table means anybody free to maintain. So this is what we discussed about the first one, delivery and the maintenance. Field we have already discussed about the domain, data element and the key field. The third one we will go with the technical setting. So under the technical setting, we do have the data class. Now, suppose you're staying in a residential home, right, with family. Now, suppose you purchase a new laptop, or maybe you have purchased a new television, you have purchased a new refrigerator, you have purchased a new sofa set. Now, you have purchased a new like chimney kit, the stove and something. Like whatever the product you are purchasing, the items you are purchasing, every product will be having some designated location in your home. Like suppose if I purchase a TV, where we are going to fit it, either in your bedroom or maybe mostly in the hall or the living room. Does it something like we are going to fit the television in the kitchen room? No. Now suppose if you purchase a new sofa set, where we are going to sit? Mostly 90% will be in the hall only, or 99 will be in the hall only. Does it mean we are going to set in the kitchen room? No. Suppose if I purchase a chimney set, does it going to fit in the hall or the bedroom somewhere? No, it should be in the kitchen room. Like every product will be having some designated locations. Same way, the type of business data which has been provided by the SAP, like master, transaction, organization, system, statistical config, like whatever the variety of business data provided by the SAP, he has reserved the physical area inside the database. Master, it will be stored in some reserved area. Transaction, it will be stored in some reserved area. Organization, like every data he has provided some physical area inside the database. So you need to select that physical area. Like of course that we will get to know with the help of delivery class. Now you can ask me, sir, how we will get to know that which data we are processing. That we have already selected by using the delivery class. Delivery class is nothing but what? The type of business data we are processing. Accordingly, you can select the physical area where it should be placed. Now you do have the college bag or maybe the laptop bag which daily you're traveling to office. You do have the different compartment in the bag. You know which stuffs may need to be placed in which compartment. If you are storing all the stuffs in a same like compartment, then what is the usage of that those different compartment? Systematically we need to place so that it is easy to search and pick it up. Same way, the data class is nothing but what? It specifies the physical area for the table inside the database. Like again, you no need to type it out. SAP has provided the possible option. The possible options are like A, P, P, L, 0. So this is a physical area for master data. APPL1. This is a physical area for transaction data. APPL2. This is a physical location for organization data. So on for the different data, SAP has provided the different physical area. Now, as we discussed about the master transaction, and sometimes that master and transaction will be called as application data, right? And with the help of delivery class, now I do have the questions myself. Now, with the help of delivery class, here there is no any options like for the master and the transaction, there is a separate option. No, you do have the option as A only. That is a part of application. It can be master, it can be transaction. Now, you can ask me exactly which one, either it's a master or transaction. Because master is something like which cannot be changed, transaction can be changed. It makes a difference between these two. Then how it could be like master application means master and transaction. Does it a like it is in the or condition, but here I have represent as and. Or means one and all same, but here both are not same. Master is different, transaction is different. But here you have mentioned with the delivery class we are maintaining the A, nothing but the application. But here I want to be more sure like either it's a master or transaction. So that is going to be sure by using the data class. If you selected as the delivery class APPL0, it will become the master data. If you select the delivery class as APPL0, it becomes the master. Similarly, if you select APPL1, it becomes the transaction followed by APPL2, that's a part of organization. The lastly, that is a part of size category. See, everything will be having the limit. Suppose if you purchase a new mobile phone that comes with the default configuration, somewhat 4 GB or 8 GB, 16 GB RAM, and somewhat 128, 256, or 512 GB of hard disk. That can be expandable, but there is some restriction, right? It never comes with some unlimited memory. Even if you purchase a database also, that comes with some restriction, 100 GB, 200 GB, right? It doesn't mean that unlimited. Data, like internet data nowadays, you can get it unlimited, but again, we do have the restrictions. Same way, whatever the database table you are creating, what should be the restriction for the number of rows? Like how many number of rows I can create in a table? That restriction we are going to set by using the site category. It specifies the number of record which we are going to be stored in a database table. In the sense we means end user. What restriction you want to set? Either he is going to store 100, 200, 500, 1000. There should be restriction, right? So that we are going to set by using the size category. It specifies the number of record which can be stored with the help of table. Now you no need to say that I want to maintain 100, 200 manually. No, for that SAP again provided the possible option. The possible options are 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 9 we do have. It will start with 0, up to 9 size category we do have. 0 to 9. You know, if you go with the any like Netflix, of course nowadays everyone will use the new Netflix. Now while purchasing the subscription, we do have the different option. You know, basic pack, premium, somewhat gold. Now what differences we do have? We'll get some more additional features. Even if you go with the purchasing of four-wheeler also, it will start from basic model to top model. Within that we do have the variety. What does it stand for? You'll with the from basic to top, you will get the minimum some set of features or facility, but on top of that you can get some additional features also. This is something like same. Start with the 0 size category, up to 9 we do have. Now what will happen if I selected any respective size category? Now suppose if I select the size category as 0, it means you can store the record up to, like somewhat, you can store the data up to somewhat 4100. If I select the size category as 1, you can store the data from 4000 to somewhat 19,000. If I select the 2, you can store the record from 19,000 to somewhat 58,000, so on. Now, my suggestion is you to don't go with this range. It can be anything. I'm just giving you the simple example. Like in 1 GB, how many data we do have? It is 1024 KB, right? In 1 GB, we do have that much KB, sorry, MB. I'm sorry. In 1 GB, we do have 1024 MB. Like in 1 MB, what is the memory size? 1024 KB. Likewise, if I select the 0 size category, it is something in range you can store the data. It can be up to 2000, it can be up to 3000, it can be up to 4000. You know, earlier, before this free data system, like before 4 years back, before the Geo, we supposed to like we do if you make if I made the recharge of 100 rupees, we get the talk time of about 78 or 75 rupees, you know. Same like if I select the 0 as a size category up to 4001, just I'm giving you the scenario. It is not a like it will always be a 4000. It can be any range. That is going to be decided by the basis consultant, and the range is going to be vary based on the type of business data which you are going to share. If it is master data, that range is something different. If it transaction range is like if you purchase the vehicle with variant of fuel, like it may be in the CNG base, petrol, and the diesel. Same vehicle, it can be on the CNG base, it can be on the petrol base, it can be on the diesel base. For the CNG, it will be give the different average. For diesel, it will be give the some different average, and the petrol, it can give the different average. Something like if it is master data, the range is something different. Transaction range is something. Organization range is something, and rest of the data, the range is something. And just giving some simple hint. If I select the 0 as a size category, you can be able to store some 4000. It can be 4000, 2100. It can be anything. Up to that much of rows you can store, like you can store up to 4100. Now you can ask me, suppose, let's assume for the 0 size category, I can able to store the 4100. Now what if I received 4101 entry? Next, then automatically system will reinitialize the size category to 1 and the memory will be expandable up to 19,000. What if I receive 19,001? Automatically it will get expanded to 2 so that it will expandable up to 58,000. So on. So if you want to create the table, if before you want to maintain the entries in a table, so these are the component and these are the mandatory option settings which you need to maintain while creating the table. So this is the detail about the database table. Likewise, we do have the different data objects in real time, and that we are going to cover in a different session. Now we discussed orally the overview about the database table. Now what if I want to create the table? For that we do have the different session. So that's all. Thank you for the day and thank you for the session.